How's it going, everybody? This is Tommy. I'm here along with my co-host Nick, and today we're talking about horror movies. And Nick, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. All right, so basically, what we're going to be doing here every week, we just talk about horror movies, things we've watched, any kind of news or releases coming out. One interesting thing I do want to start off with here that I read. I don't know if you heard about this. There's going to be a fan film called Voorhees that's supposed to be coming out next year. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I guess, a lot of people are craving their Friday the 13th fix. And of course, there's no Friday 13th movies coming out anytime soon. But apparently, these guys are making a Voorhees movie supposed to be coming out sometime next year. Um, so that should be interesting to be on the lookout for. Um,
In mine.
yeah. Another thing we're going to be doing here every week, we're going to pick a horror movie where we're going to watch, and then the next week we'll talk about it. And so for the movie of this week that we'll be discussing next week is probably my all-time favorite movie, and that is the original Evil Dead. Now, Nick, have you seen this movie before?
Yes. I
Yeah,
have it on DVD.
yeah, same here. It was one of the first DVDs I bought when I, first started buying DVDs. I had VHS forever, and then when I finally started upgrading and going to DVDs, one of the first ones I ever purchased was the Evil Dead movie because it is and always has been one of my favorites ever since I first saw it. And
Wasn't that movie filmed near you?
it was Evil Dead. I'm from the northeast Tennessee, and the crazy thing is they were filmed that movie in Morristown, Tennessee, which is pretty close to me. And Morristown is just a real small little town, and you just never would think that anybody recording or filming a movie would do it there, but they did. Which also, uh, we got to talk about the remake. Unfortunately, I really did not like the remake. I guess I should just go ahead and say, I mean, I'm not really big on a lot of remakes. Most of them just don't really click with me. I don't know. I'd much rather see something new and unique and maybe something that hasn't been done. Even if it's not really unique, just something different and new. It seems like for the past, gosh, well over a decade now, that's like the most popular thing to do anymore is just kind of redo old movies, and I guess nobody
Yeah.
has new ideas and fresh ideas, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, so I saw the Evil Dead remake when it was out in theaters. And Nick, what did you think about it first?
I never watched it.
Oh, you never saw the Evil Dead remake?
No, I have not seen it.
Oh, okay, all right then. Some reason I thought you did, but I
No.
man, I mean, I already had my expectations low going in because, like I said, I really don't like a lot of remakes. There are some exceptions. The Rob Zombie Halloween remake.
It
Uh, do what?
it
It, yeah, I really liked it. Um, and I was really surprised by both of those that I liked those because every time I go to watch a remake, I keep my expectations low because I already know that I'm probably not going to like it. Most of the remakes I don't like, so it's not that my expectations were extremely high because this is my favorite movie of all time. Um, well, I should say Evil Dead and the 1986 Trick or Treat movies are probably my favorite of all time. But the Evil Dead movie,
Friday.
I just went ahead. Friday 13th. I love Friday 13th. As far as franchises go, that's definitely probably my favorite as far as that goes. But just in general, those are definitely my favorite movies. But Evil Dead just the remake was just awful. I mean, I thought it was terrible. I know I definitely have some friends that, really liked it. And, you know, it's not one of those things of where like with some remakes, I have to say, okay, just imagine that it's, nothing like the original and has nothing to do with the original. Some people are like, well, if it wasn't titled Evil Dead, it was a great movie. I disagree. I don't care what it was called. I thought it was terrible. Like for me, and I know we'll probably talk about it one day, Halloween 3, I love that movie. I know a lot of people hated it because Michael Myers wasn't in it. And you can kind of say that with that movie that, okay, if it was called something else, maybe people would like it. I still loved it. I thought it was great. But we'll get into that another time, I'm sure. But I just could not get into the remake. I thought it was terrible. The actors were just, in my opinion, atrocious. And this is coming from somebody that loves like B and C level movies more than any other type. I love low budget movies, and terrible acting kind of goes hand in hand with the majority of those. But I don't know, the characters to me were completely unlikable, and which again in horror that kind of goes hand in hand, but not with this film. It just didn't resonate with me at all. So I was really disappointed with that. But we are going to go and watch the original one next week and get into that. Have you picked up anything recently? Any horror movies?
Uh, Not that I can remember. Or wait, actually, I think I have. Yeah, I got The Nun.
The Nun. Okay, yeah. The Nun. I know I've probably seen it, but honestly, I don't remember anything about it. Did you like it?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror movie. There were a lot of parts in it that made it more of a thriller than a horror movie to me. Like, the most graphic scene in it was in the beginning. Like, I'm not going to say what it was, but that was the most graphic thing I saw in it.
Right. Well, okay, this brings up kind of an interesting point then. To you, does a film have to have gore or a bunch of death scenes or whatever in it to be considered horror?
I mean, yes and no at the same time. Like,
Because
if it's well, actually, yeah. Like, or at least,
I mean, to me, it doesn't. I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily think you have to have a lot of gore or death scenes or anything like that in horror. I mean, I think you can have a lot of just jump scares, or there's or just being someone being frightened and scared throughout the whole movie or something. I really don't think you have to have that to necessarily be a horror movie, but that's just my opinion.
I understand that.
And
But
speaking of like, have you watched any movies recently besides that, or is that the only one you've seen here recently?
other than that, well, that's the only new movie I've seen recently. Like, newer.
No, just any movie at all.
Any movie? The most recent movie I've seen is probably Gremlins.
Oh yeah, I love Gremlins. That's a great classic movie.
Hell yeah. And I'm probably going to watch it again for Christmas.
It is a really good movie. For me, I guess kind of the same thing. What I saw wasn't a horror movie, but it wasn't anything even related to horror or anything to me. But it was real. It was, I guess I should say, re-released by Troma, which is kind of notorious for their real low budget horror and just crazy films they've released. And it's actually up on YouTube if anyone wants to go and check it out. It's called Ferocious Female Freedom Fighters. And it's just, man, how to describe this movie. Apparently, it's actually some, like, I don't know if it's Korean or if it's, Japanese or Chinese or something. I have no idea, but it's some just, uh, obviously an overseas movie with, no English or anything in it. And what Troma did was take this movie and basically overdub the entire film with voice actors and just saying ridiculous lines throughout the whole movie. Like the main guy, and it's supposed to be a real serious movie, but Troma, of course, they take it and just make it this completely ridiculous, funny movie. Like the main character, of course, he's like this Korean karate, like badass guy. But the voice actor they use for him, in their storyline of this, in Tromaline's storyline of this movie, he's basically like a Korean Elvis impersonator. It's really, really funny, dude. I definitely recommend, if you like just cheesy, ridiculous movies, check that one out. Especially if you already like Troma movies, if you like, Toxic Avenger and or even like Thanksgiving and just stuff like that, then definitely check this one out.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really funny. So another movie that I heard that was supposed to be coming out in next year, supposed to be early next year, but I guess we'll wait and see, is called The Primevals, which was a movie that was recorded, decades and decades ago. I want to say like late 70s, maybe even early 80s. And I believe it was the director died or something like that. So it never actually got released and finished and everything. But apparently they're getting it together to put it out next year. If you've never heard of it, just, look it up and check it out, because it looks really, really interesting. And it's going to be released by Full Moon, I believe. And I love Full Moon releases. Like, they do all the Puppet Master movies. And
so are they going to be reshooting it?
No, I guess they're just going to, take it and kind of, put it together and put it out there of what is there. I don't know how far they got along. Like, I don't know if the movie wasn't finished completely as far as an ending goes, or if they did finish the movie as far as like filming and ending and all that, and they just never, released it. All that I'm not sure, but to me, it's always cool when something like that happens, when there's like an older movie from, the 70s, 80s or before that was never released, and now all these years later, they're going back to release it. That's really cool to me. So I'll be looking for that. It's called The Primevals. And speaking of Full Moon, which I don't think they had anything to do with this release, but the most recent thing I picked up was the new Puppet Master movie, The Littlest Reich. And I love Puppet Master movies. That's another one of my favorite franchises. I remember being a kid and watching the Sci-Fi Channel, and a lot of times they would do those marathons of the Puppet Master movies, and I've been hooked ever since. So to see they released a new Puppet Master movie, which I know there was another one that came out maybe 2000, somewhere around 2012 to 14, something around there. So it hasn't been too long since the last one. And I remember liking it. Like, I don't remember it being like overwhelmingly awesome or anything, but this one was really, really good. Like, this is the best, definitely the best one they've done since the 90s. It's really, really good. A lot of gore. If you like your gore and stuff, there's some crazy kill scenes in it. Definitely recommend picking that one up. That might be, and towards the end of the year, we'll put together a little top 5 of each of our favorite movies of 2018. And that one will definitely be on my list. Maybe even number 1. It was really, really good. So yeah, that's all we got for right now. We are going to be doing this every week. And next week, like I said, we'll be talking about the original Evil Dead. And then we will also Nick will be picking a movie for next week for us to watch, and we'll dissect that one as well the week after. Thanks everybody for listening. If you liked what you heard, like and subscribe. Thanks again for listening. Good night, everybody.